Is West Virginia in danger of losing Darian DeVries to Iowa? And should Ren Baker go ahead and lock him up with a contract extension and a pay increase? Let's talk about that in this episode of Hoops from the Hills. We're also going to briefly look ahead to the next game against the Baylor Bears. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Hoops from the Hills. This is Couz, and we are here to talk about West Virginia Mountaineer basketball today. And we are going to talk about the scuttlebutt that's out there right now. And there's a concern throughout Mountaineer Nation that West Virginia may be on the cusp of losing Coach Darian DeVries to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, I don't know exactly where this started. Didn't see the origin of this. I've just seen it floating around online. Maybe Voice of Morgantown did an article on it. He may have been the first one to come out with something like this, but nonetheless, I don't know where it originated from, because as of right now, Fran McCaffrey is still a coach at Iowa. And I reached out to someone I know who covers Iowa and asked them, and according to him, there is no talk at all in Iowa about Fran McCaffrey being let go. Now, maybe they're just holding off until after the season. But as of right now, Fran McCaffrey's the coach at Iowa, and there has apparently been no talk of him not being there in 2024 or 2026. So I don't know where this stuff about Coach DeVries is coming from. Now, I do understand why it would make sense. I do understand Iowa's not having a good year. They're 14-10 overall and only 5-8 in Big Ten conference play. And I understand why many people can look at that and kind of make the assumption that maybe he won't be back next year. But I'm not sure that's a safe assumption to make. Iowa's not the type of program that just fires coaches. I mean, heck, look how long Kirk Ferentz has been there on the football side. McCaffrey's been there quite a while himself. Iowa's typically pretty loyal to their coaches. So unless McCaffrey steps down, I'm not sure he's going anywhere. And even if he does, I don't think we should just automatically assume that Darian DeVries would take that job. Number one, Darian DeVries has been very loyal to his employers in the past. He was at Creighton as an assistant coach for many, many years before he went on to become a head coach at Drake. And I would assume it's probably safe to assume he had other head coaching opportunities before he took the Drake job. But he chose to stay with Coach McDermott at Creighton. He's not the type of coach that's just going to jump and leave a job after 1 year at the drop of a dime. Now, I understand Iowa's home for him. That's his home state. I get that. But he's only been at West Virginia a year, and all indications are that he likes it there. Now, obviously, I've never had that conversation with him. I've never asked him that. Don't have any behind-the-scenes sources. But I just don't think we need to assume that Coach DeVries is just going to up and leave West Virginia after a year. Now, that being said, though, after the year he's had, yes, and I know they haven't made the NCAA tournament yet, but they're sitting here at 15-9, 6-7 in Big 12 play, and they've done it with Tucker DeVries only playing 8 games, Jaden Stone not playing at all, and having to deal with, other injuries and stuff throughout the season. Javon Small having to play 35, 36 minutes a game. They've had to deal with some adversity, and he still has his team on the bubble of the NCAA tournament. I think he's done a pretty darn good job, if you ask me. With a short bench, his star player not playing, or at least one of them, he's done a good job. I mean, I don't think there's any West Virginia fan that would be able to argue against that, to be honest with you. So if I'm Ren Baker, I don't know that I take any chances. I think once the season's over, I go ahead and talk to him about extending his contract a year. Now, there is apparently a clause in his contract, based on what I've read, that if he finishes in the top 6, maybe even top 8, I can't remember. It's top 6 or top 8 in the Big 12. He automatically gets a 1 year in year one. He automatically gets a 1 year extension added on to his contract. So I like that. I like that idea. But if I'm Ren Baker, I think I may go ahead and do it anyway, even if he doesn't finish in the top 6 or top 8, because of the way he's been able to do this. You can see the future. He's laying the groundwork for a great future. You look at the recruiting class he's bringing in, he's bringing in for next year. You look at the fact Tucker has a red shirt. He might be able to use the medical red shirt. He's laying a great foundation to build this program on long term. I love what Coach DeVries is doing. So if I'm Wren Baker, I go ahead and lock Coach DeVries up for another year, bump him up in pay to, get him closer to that $3 million mark. Try to keep him around Morgantown for as long as possible. That way, if a job like Iowa does come open, he's a lot less tempted to leave. You show him you appreciate him, that you respect the job he's done and think he's doing a great job, and you show him that you were in it to win it with him for the long term. I think you need to do that if you're Wren Baker, at least by the end of the season, if not before. I think hopefully those conversations have already started with DeVries' agent and Wren Baker. But as far as Iowa goes, until that job's actually open, folks, I don't think we just need to jump to the conclusion and assume that it's going to happen. Now, if it comes open, if Fran McCaffrey gets fired or steps down, then I might start worrying a little bit, because I can almost guarantee you Iowa's going to come after Darian DeVries. But is Iowa really a better job than West Virginia? Yes, it's in the Big Ten. They're making more money in the Big Ten. But Iowa is not, in my opinion, the basketball brand of West Virginia. Now, yes, I'm biased. I'm wearing blue and gold glasses. I get it. But to me, that's a lateral move at best, if not a step down as far as basketball prowess goes. I mean, West Virginia is a top 25 program all time in wins in college basketball. They have shown they're dedicated to winning in Morgantown. So I think if I'm Darian DeVries, I think long and hard before leaving Morgantown, because he could be here for life and really, really have a great career in Morgantown if he's happy here and his daughter likes it here and his family and, his wife and the whole family. Hopefully the family likes it in Morgantown. And if they do, I just don't think he's the type of guy that's going to pack up and leave after 1 year. I think he's going to want to come in and try to complete what he started and build something special. That's just my opinion. But again, what do I know? All right, now let's jump ahead and start looking ahead to the upcoming game against the Baylor Bears. West Virginia has to travel to Waco to take on Baylor this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central. The game will air on ESPN2. Baylor is at 15-9, the same record as West Virginia, but they're 7-6 in conference play, whereas West Virginia is 6-7 in conference play. They're coming off a loss against Houston. West Virginia is coming off a loss against BYU. This is a very interesting matchup. I do think West Virginia can beat Baylor. I think Baylor is beatable. When you look at where their strengths and weaknesses are, I actually kind of like this matchup for West Virginia in most areas. The one area I don't like it is offensive rebounding. West Virginia gives up a ton of offensive rebounds. That is one area Baylor excels in, rather. When you look at their rebounding, they average 11.1 offensive rebounds a game, which is 31st in the country. And we know West Virginia is one of the worst in the country in giving up offensive rebounds. So that doesn't bode well for West Virginia. However, I will say this. One of Baylor's bigs is out for the rest of the year. They have a center, I guess technically he's a forward, named Josh Ojenwuna, who is suffered a knee injury in a recent game and is now out for the season. He was averaging 7.39 points and 6.43 rebounds a game. So he was playing well. He's 6'10", 230-pound big. So that is one less big body that West Virginia is going to have to deal with in the middle when it comes to rebounding the basketball. Now, you still got to be on the lookout for Norshawn Omier. West Virginia fans remember him. He's given West Virginia fits in the past. He averages 15.67 points a game to go along with 10.25 rebounds a game. So he's averaging a double-double every single game. He also leads the team in blocks with 0.96. So he's going to be a beast to deal with in the middle. That's a matchup. That's an individual matchup I don't like for West Virginia is Omier. I think when it comes, when you look between him and Eduardo Andre, I'm giving Omier the advantage there. I mean, you look at statistically, he's had a much better year. He's a big body down there. 6'7", 240. So he's, he's going to be hard to push off the block. So I look for him to be a matchup problem for the Mountaineers down low, unless they can figure out a way to maybe to double him up or try to deny the ball and keep the ball from getting into the paint. that's the way I would try to play it. You also got Jeremy Roach averaging 11.39 points a game to go along with 3.39 assists a game. Then you've got Robert Wright III leading the team with 4.67 assists a game. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up remiss, I guess is technically how you say it. Sorry. My grammar is not accurate today. But anyway, VJ Edgecombe, who could be an NBA lottery pick, playing guard for Coach Scott Drew's squad, averaging 31.4 minutes a game, 14.95 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 2.23 steals a game, and 3 assists a game. He will absolutely fill up the stat sheet. 6'5" guard. Very, very talented. He's going to be the one player. They had Demon for BYU that what West Virginia did. They had to be aware of in the last game, who is potentially going to be a lottery pick. Well, in this one, it's VJ Edgecombe, the player that they need to key on. And I would assume that we'll see Sincere Harris playing one-on-one against him most of the game. Now, one area I do like for West Virginia is Baylor does give up a lot of three-point shots. We know West Virginia loves to shoot the three ball, right? Well, Baylor is 336th in the nation. That's almost last, not far off last. At opponent three-point percentage at 37%. Their opponents are shooting 37% from three. Also, they're 276th in the nation, which is also close to the bottom, or at least in the bottom third, at opponent three-pointers made in a game at 8.3. Now, when West Virginia makes at least 9 threes a game, and I got this stat from listening to Brad Howell over at Three Guys Before the Game, but when they make at least 9 threes a game, typically they win. Now, that wasn't the case against BYU because they allowed BYU to make 10 threes. So that offset it. But normally when West Virginia makes at least 9 threes in a game, they win a high percentage of those games. And the fact that Baylor normally gives up at least 8.3 a game, I like those odds. And I think should bode well for West Virginia, especially considering that they're probably going to give up a few extra possessions to Baylor because of Baylor's offensive rebounding. Then another statistic that I thought was interesting is the stat that measures assists per game or assists per basket made. When you look at Baylor, they are 345th in the nation in opponent assists per field goal made. So basically, almost 61% of field goals made by Baylor's opponents come from an assist. And we know that West Virginia likes to pass the basketball. They like to work off ball screens. They like to cut to the basket some. Sometimes they'll like to get it down into Andre, let him work from inside out, passing out to three-point shooters. A lot of their shots do like to pass the ball, and I think that bodes well also for West Virginia because I think that can play into one of Baylor's weaknesses. Now, you're not going to be able to score off the dribble a ton against Baylor, go one-on-one, but that's not really what West Virginia likes to do anyway. They like to spread you out, run pick and rolls, pick and pops, and score off of those types of actions. So I do like the matchup from a shooting. As far as West Virginia's offense goes against Baylor's defense, I like the matchup here. And the fact that West Virginia is so good on the defensive end, I also like their ability to stop Baylor. Now, Baylor is a good offensive team. They're averaging 78 points a game, which is 60th in the country. They're actually similar to BYU. According to Brad Howell, what he was talking about yesterday, they are very similar to BYU statistically offensively. And we saw, for the most part, other than a few lapses, for the most part, West Virginia played pretty well against BYU. Now, like I said, they had some defensive lapses, a few careless turnovers that hurt them. But if they can avoid those lapses, if they can stay on the shooters at Baylor, like VJ Edgecombe and others, they can stay on the shooters, not give up too many open looks, then I think West Virginia can win this basketball game, even though it's at Baylor. Baylor's home court advantage, no offense, Baylor fans, but your home court advantage don't scare me too much. So West Virginia's already proven they can go on the road and win games. They've went on the road and won at Kansas. They've won on the road and won at Colorado. They went on the road and won at some other places. So they can win on the road, and they've proven that. So I like West Virginia's chances of going into Baylor and pulling off a win. I really do. I think they're due. They're coming off a loss. They don't lose back-to-back games very often. Now, they will occasionally, but not very often. So I like West Virginia's chances to pull this game out. Now, when you look at the ESPN matchup predictor, they're giving better than 80.5% chance to win. I think it's too high. When you look at the matchups, I think it's way too high. Just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong before. It wouldn't be the first time. But I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here, and I'm actually going to predict West Virginia to win this basketball game. I think Jonathan Powell has a shot back. I think he's going to make a couple threes. I expect Joe Yesufu to have a decent game off the bench. I think Omani Hansberry will give him 10, 11 points. And I think Javon Small, once again, is going to have probably 7, 8, 9 assists in the game, probably around 12 or 14 points in the game, and I think it'll be enough for West Virginia to pull off a victory over the Baylor Bears 67-64. West Virginia likes to keep the game as low scoring as possible. I think it's 67-64 Mountaineers at the end of the day, despite what ESPN's saying. Now, I do think VJ Edgecombe is going to get his points. I do think Orshawn, golly, I'm butchering these names here. Omier will likely get his points down low for the Bears. But I think overall West Virginia will do just enough to win this basketball game. I feel really good about this one. Don't know why I do. Like I said, I do like the matchup. But for some reason, I just feel it in my gut that West Virginia is going to go to Waco and pull out a win over the Baylor Bears and keep their spot on the right side of the bubble, at least for now, for that NCAA tournament spot. This should be a quad one win if West Virginia can pull it off. And I think it'd be a big one because Baylor's very well respected. They look very good in the net rankings and some of the other rankings out there. It'd be a big win if West Virginia can go to Waco and pull it off. And I think they can. Well, I'm picking West Virginia to win it 67-64. What is your score prediction? Let me know in the comments section. I want to know. Also, let me know about Darian DeVries. Do you think he's one and done at West Virginia? Are he and Tucker going to pack their bags, head back home to Iowa? Let me know what you think. Personally, I don't think we need to worry about it just yet because I don't think Cam McCaffrey's going anywhere just yet. But who knows? I could end up taking a big L here on this one as well. Who knows? We'll see. All right. I want to thank you for tuning into this show. Remind you that there's another video right here that you might like. YouTube thinks you'll like this video right here related to West Virginia Mountaineer basketball. Ask that you please hit the thumbs up button on this video to get it pumped out to more people. Ask that you please subscribe to me here at Hoops from the Hills. Don't forget about Couz's Corner as well, where I cover college football. Please share this with your family and friends who like West Virginia hoops. I hope the rest of your day is top shelf. Stay blessed. Q Country Roads.